Ambassador Zeth adjusted his ceremonial robes as he entered the grand assembly hall of the Galactic Council. The crystalline dome stretched impossibly high above, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that had welcomed countless species into the galactic community over the past 3,000 years. Today, however, felt different. Today felt like a waste of time. "The humans are here," whispered Councilor Vexnora, her 6 eyes tracking the small delegation entering through the ceremonial gates. "Look at them. So primitive." Zeth studied the 5 human representatives as they walked across the polished floor. They wore simple dark suits that seemed almost quaint compared to the flowing energy cloth robes and biomechanical armor worn by the established council members. The lead human, a woman with graying hair and steady eyes, carried herself with quiet confidence that Zeth found mildly irritating. "Species designation, human," announced the ceremonial herald, its voice echoing through translation matrices. "Origin world, Earth, Sector 7 Alpha. Requesting full membership status in the Galactic Council." A ripple of barely contained laughter swept through the assembly. The Krillian delegation openly smirked, their mandibles clicking in amusement. Even the normally stoic Vorthak representatives seemed to find humor in the situation. "Tell me again why we're even considering this," Councillor Thanesor muttered, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns of disdain. They barely crawled out of their gravity well. Chemical rockets? Projectile weapons? What's next? Shall we invite the primitive tribes from the Outer Rim who still use stone tools? The human ambassador stepped forward. "Honored councillors, I am Ambassador Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Government. We come before you today not as supplicants, but as equals seeking mutual cooperation and—" "Equals." The word burst from Councillor Vexnora's translator with sharp emphasis. "Your species achieved faster-than-light travel less than 50 standard cycles ago. The youngest member of this council has maintained interstellar civilization for over 800 cycles, exactly what qualifies your species as our equal." Ambassador Chen's expression remained calm. "Our technological development may follow a different path than yours, but innovation often comes from—" "Different paths." Zeth interrupted, his voice carrying the authority of his position as senior military advisor. "Your ships still rely on crude fusion drives. Your weapons are kinetic projectiles and basic energy beams. We've seen your military assessments, Ambassador Chen. Impressive by primitive standards, perhaps, but utterly inadequate for the challenges facing our galaxy." The human delegation exchanged glances. Another human, a tall man with silver hair, leaned forward slightly. "With respect, Counselor, our defensive capabilities may surprise you." "Ah, yes." Thanesor's form brightened with what passed for amusement among his species. "The intelligence reports mentioned something about railguns. Magnetic acceleration of metal projectiles. How? Quaint. Did your species never discover plasma containment? Energy field manipulation? These technologies were considered obsolete before most of our civilizations achieved spaceflight. The effectiveness of a weapon isn't always determined by its complexity," the silver-haired human replied quietly. "Spoken like a species that's never faced a real threat," Vexnora said. When the Devourers swept through the Andorian cluster, they shrugged off kinetic weapons like insects ignoring raindrops. Only coordinated plasma bombardments and quantum disruptors could penetrate their biomechanical hulls. Your railguns would have been useless decoration. Zeth pulled up a holographic display, showing recent intelligence footage from human military exercises. "Observe, fellow counselors. This is their most advanced weapon system." The display showed a sleek human vessel firing what appeared to be simple metal projectiles at asteroid targets. Note the lack of energy shielding on the projectiles. No quantum tunneling capabilities. No dimensional phasing. Simply metal slugs accelerated by magnetic fields. The assembly murmured with derision. Several counselors were openly conducting other business now, clearly considering the humans beneath serious attention. Furthermore, Zeth continued, their tactical doctrine shows dangerous naivety. They spread their forces across multiple smaller vessels rather than concentrating power in proper dreadnoughts. They lack proper energy shielding technology. Most telling of all, they seem to believe that raw kinetic energy can compete with the advanced defensive systems we perfected over millennia. Ambassador Chen stepped forward again. Counselors, we understand our technology may seem unconventional, but we found that unconventional. Thanezor's crystalline form pulsed with what his species considered laughter. Ambassador, your weapons technology is not unconventional. It is obsolete. We used similar systems during our own species' early spacefaring period, roughly 2,000 cycles ago. They proved inadequate then, and the galaxy has only grown more dangerous since. If I may, interjected another human, a younger woman with sharp eyes, our simulation suggests that properly applied kinetic energy can overcome most defensive systems through simulations. Vexnara said dismissively. How charming. Tell me, humans, have your simulations ever faced a Class VII energy barrier? Have they encountered regenerative armor plating? Temporal displacement fields? Reality anchors? No, I thought not. Zeth Cree gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show footage from the recent hegemony war. Massive energy beams carved through space, quantum torpedoes phased through multiple dimensional layers before detonating, and vast shield networks absorbed planet-killing blasts without wavering. This, Ambassador Chen, is modern warfare. This is what your species would face if any of the galaxy's real threats decided you were worth their attention. Your railguns, impressive though they may seem to you, would be as effective as throwing stones at a hurricane. The human delegation remained silent for a long moment. Ambassador Chen's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. We appreciate the Council's perspective on our capabilities. It's not perspective, it's reality, Zeth Cree said firmly. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Ambassador. It's filled with species who have refined the art of destruction for millennia. The hegemony wars, the void incursions, the machine rebellions, these conflicts have pushed military technology to its absolute limits. What you call advanced, we call outdated. Councillor Thanezor's form shifted to a more formal configuration. The humans may reapply for membership consideration once they've achieved technological parity with galactic standards. We suggest focusing on proper energy weapon development, quantum defensive systems, and abandoning these primitive kinetic weapons. Additionally, Vexnara added, your species should consider the benefits of joining an existing power block rather than attempting independent development. The Krillian Commonwealth or the Vorthak Republic would be suitable mentors for developing species. The insult was clear, and Zeth Cree noted the slight stiffening in the human postures. Good. Let them understand their place in the galactic hierarchy. Ambassador Chen nodded slowly. We thank the Council for their time and guidance. We'll relay your recommendations to our government. As the human delegation turned to leave, Zeth Cree felt a moment of something almost like pity. They seemed like a reasonable species, despite their technological limitations. Perhaps in a few centuries, they might develop into something approaching galactic standards. One more thing, Ambassador, he called out. I'd recommend your species focus on more conventional development paths. These railgun experiments of yours, they're a dead end. Every advanced species tried kinetic weapons early in their development. There's a reason we all move beyond them. Ambassador Chen paused at the doorway. When she turned back, there was something in her expression that Zeth Cree couldn't quite identify. Thank you for the advice, Counselor. We'll certainly take it under consideration. After the humans left, the Assembly quickly moved on to more pressing matters. The Sector 12 trade dispute required immediate attention, and there were reports of renewed void cult activity near the Galactic Rim. Zeth Cree made a mental note to file the human application under developmental species, reapproach in 200 cycles. It was almost unfortunate, really. They seemed like they could have been decent junior partners to some of the major powers, if only they hadn't wasted so much time on obsolete weapon systems. Outside, in the corridors of the Council station, Ambassador Chen spoke quietly to her team. Well, that went about as expected. Should we proceed with Phase 2? Asked the silver-haired man. Chen looked back toward the assembly hall, where the Council continued their discussions, secure in their technological superiority and galactic dominance. Begin the demonstration preparations. It's time they learned that there's more than one way to accelerate metal. 3 weeks after the human delegation's departure, Zeth Cree stood in his private command center aboard the Council monitoring station, reviewing routine intelligence reports. The vast screen surrounding him displayed the ebb and flow of galactic activity, trade routes, military movements, diplomatic communications. It was a heartbeat of civilization, and he had watched over it for nearly 2 centuries. "So," called intelligence analyst Kixra, her chitinous shell clicking as she approached. "We're receiving unusual reports from multiple sectors. Human fleet movements, but they don't match our projections." Zeth Kree frowned, pulling up the tactical display. According to their models, human expansion should have been slow and cautious, following established safe routes with their limited technology. Instead, he saw something that made no tactical sense. "They are spreading out," he muttered, watching the data streams. "Look at this. Single human vessels moving into at least 12 different systems simultaneously. No support fleets, no supply lines. What are they thinking?" Kixra's mandibles twitched nervously. "Sir, there's more. We've lost contact with a Krillian observation post in Sector 15. Last transmission mentioned detecting a human vessel, but then nothing. Equipment failure. Unknown. The Krillians dispatch a patrol group to investigate, but that was 6 hours ago. They should have reported back by now." Zeth Kree felt a flicker of unease. The Krillians weren't exactly galactic superpowers, but their technology was respectable, centuries beyond what the humans had demonstrated. What about the Vorthak? They maintain monitoring stations near human space. That's a concerning part, sir. Kixra brought up another display. 3 Vorthak listening posts have gone dark in the past 18 hours, all in systems where we detected human vessel signatures. The unease was growing stronger. Could be coincidence. Equipment malfunctions happen, especially in the outer systems. "Yes, sir, but..." Kixra hesitated. "There's something else. We intercepted a partial transmission from the Hegemony Border Patrol. Very fragmentary, but the automated systems flagged it as high priority." The display shifted to show a communications intercept, the audio crackling with interference. Through the static, Zeth Kree could make out a Hegemony officer's voice, distorted but urgent. "Never seen anything like it. Projectile penetrated all defensive layers, requesting immediate. Static. Railgun technology may be more. Our transmission ends." Zeth Kree stared at the display. The Hegemony Border Patrol was among the most advanced military forces in the galaxy. Their ships carried quantum shields, temporal displacement armor, and reality anchors. What could possibly penetrate their defenses that hadn't been seen before? "Kixra, I want a full intelligence review on human capabilities. Go back through everything. Their ship designs, weapon demonstrations, even their industrial capacity reports." "So, we already conducted a comprehensive analysis before their council application. Their technology is clearly..." "Do it again." Zeth Kree's voice carried an edge that made the analyst's shell rattle. "And this time, assume we missed something." While Kixra worked, Zeth Kree opened a secure channel to Councilor Vexnara. Her six-eyed visage appeared on his private screen, surrounded by the luxurious appointments of her personal quarters. "Zeth Kree, what's so urgent that you're interrupting my regeneration cycle?" "We may have a problem. The humans are moving faster than our projections suggested they could, and we're getting reports of unusual incidents in the outer systems." Vexnara's eyes focused with predatory intensity. "Define unusual." "Missing patrols, lost observation posts, all in systems where human vessels have been detected." He paused. "And fragmentary reports suggesting their railgun technology might be more effective than we assess." For a moment, Vexnara was silent. Then she laughed, a sound like crystal chimes breaking. "Zeth Kree, you're letting paranoia cloud your judgment. Kinetic weapons are kinetic weapons. Physics doesn't change just because a primitive species thinks they've discovered something new." "Then explain the missing patrols." "Space is dangerous. Ships disappear all the time. Pirates, mechanical failures, navigational errors. There are a dozen explanations that don't require us to panic over magnetic slug throwers." Before Zeth Kree could respond, Kixra called out from her station. "Sir, emergency transmission coming in from the Outer Rim Defense Network." The main screen activated, showing Admiral Korvek's of the Hegemony Defense Force. The normally composed military leader looked shaken, his biomechanical faceplates flickering with stress indicators. Council Command, this is Admiral Corvextar requesting immediate strategic consultation. We have a situation that requires your expertise on human military capabilities. Zefkri activated the response channel. Admiral, this is Senior Military Advisor Zefkri. What's your situation? 3 hours ago, one of our patrol squadrons encountered a single human vessel in the Kepler disputed zone. Standard first contact protocol. We hailed them, requested identification, warned them about entering contested space. And the human vessel transmitted a single message. This sector is now under Earth protection. Withdraw immediately. Our squadron commander naturally refused to retreat from a single primitive vessel. That's when the Admiral paused, his stress indicators flashing brighter. Advisor Zefkri, that human ship destroyed our entire patrol squadron in less than 90 seconds. Zefkri felt the temperature in the room seem to drop. Admiral, your patrol squadron carry quantum shields and reality anchors. What weapon could possibly? That's what I need to understand. Our sensors detected massive kinetic energy discharges, but the projectiles, they move at nearly 15% light speed. The quantum shields might as well have been tissue paper. The reality anchors couldn't lock onto targets moving that fast. And the projectiles themselves. Corvextar's image flickered as he brought up tactical data. Look at this impact analysis. These weren't simple metal slugs. The projectiles seemed to have been composed of some kind of exotic matter that phases through defensive barriers before resolidifying on impact. But that's impossible with primitive magnetic acceleration. Zefkri studied the data, his mind racing. 15% light speed was far beyond anything chemical or conventional magnetic systems could achieve, and exotic matter projectiles required technology that even the most advanced council species had only theorized about. Admiral, are you certain these readings are accurate? I've had our best technicians verify everything 3 times. But that's not the worst part. Advisor, after destroying our patrol, the human vessel transmitted sensor data showing the locations of 14 other hegemony installations in the sector. Installations that should have been undetectable to their primitive sensors. Vexnoro's voice cut through the channel. This is Counselor Vexnoro. Admiral, what you're describing is tactically impossible. No kinetic weapon, regardless of velocity, can penetrate a properly configured quantum shield matrix. Counselor, with respect, I'm looking at the wreckage of 6 hegemony warships that would disagree with that assessment. Zefkri felt pieces of a larger puzzle beginning to form in his mind. Admiral, have you detected any other human vessels in your sector? That's the truly concerning part. Our long-range sensors are detecting human signatures throughout the disputed zone. Not fleets, single vessels, just like the one that destroyed our patrol. They are moving with precision and purpose that suggests detailed intelligence about our defensive positions. The communication channel crackled as another voice joined the conversation. This is General Fexmore of the Krillian Commonwealth Defense Corps. I'm afraid I have similar reports from our territory. A new window opened, showing the insectoid features of the Krillian general. 2 hours ago, human vessels appeared simultaneously in 7 different Krillian systems. They delivered the same message about Earth protection, and when our local commanders naturally responded with defensive measures. Your forces were destroyed, Zefkri said quietly. Completely. But, General, the weapon signatures we detected, these railguns aren't simple magnetic accelerators. They are creating localized gravitational fields around the projectiles, essentially turning each shot into a miniature black hole that collapses just before impact. The kinetic energy released is. Thexmore paused. It's beyond our current theoretical frameworks. Zefkri closed his eyes, feeling the foundation of his understanding shifting beneath him. How many human vessels are we talking about? Based on our combined sensor data, Admiral Corvextar replied, at least 40 individual ships have been detected across 12 sectors, all moving independently, or demonstrating capabilities far beyond what the humans showed during their council application. Counselor Vexnoro's voice had lost its earlier confidence. This has to be some kind of deception. Perhaps they are using captured alien technology, or they form an alliance with an unknown power. Counselor, General Fexmore interjected. Our intelligence indicates these vessels are definitely of human construction. The energy signatures, the hull compositions, even the communication protocols are consistent with human technology. But somehow, they've achieved capabilities that our science says should be impossible. Zefkree opened his eyes, staring at the tactical display that now showed red warning indicators spreading across a significant portion of the galaxy's outer regions. How long do we have before they reach the car systems? At their current rate of expansion, Kixra called out from her analysis station, human vessels will be within striking distance of major council world within 7 to 2 hours. For the first time in his 2-century career, Zefkree felt genuine fear creeping into his thoughts. The humans had not just hidden their true capabilities during the council meeting. They had deliberately presented themselves as primitive and harmless while preparing for what could only be described as a coordinated galactic offensive. Admiral, General, maintain your defensive positions but avoid direct confrontation with human vessels until we can formulate a proper response. Counselor Vexnaro, we need an emergency session of the full council within 6 hours. As the communications ended, Zefkree stood alone in his command center, surrounded by displays showing the slow but steady advance of human forces across the galaxy. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he could hear Ambassador Chen's parting words, "We'll certainly take it under consideration." They had taken the Council's advice under consideration, and apparently decided to demonstrate exactly why it was wrong. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in unprecedented chaos. Representatives from dozens of species filled the great assembly hall, their voices creating a cacophony of fear, anger, and confusion that the translation matrices struggled to process. Zefkree had never seen the council in such disarray. "Order! Order!" Councillor Thanezor's crystalline form pulsed with authoritative light, but even his commanding presence couldn't fully quiet the assembly. "We are here to address the human situation, not to panic like younglings in their first void storm." Councillor Vexnara took her position at the central podium, her 6 eyes scanning the assembled representatives. "Fellow councillors, we received confirmed reports from 17 different sectors. Human vessels have appeared throughout the outer territories, delivering identical messages about Earth protection and demonstrating military capabilities that exceed our previous assessments." Exceed? The voice belonged to Commander Zelthari of the Nexus Coalition, her biomechanical form vibrating with barely contained rage. "They've obliterated every military force that's challenged them. My reconnaissance fleets were destroyed so completely that we couldn't even recover enough debris for analysis." Admiral Korvextar's holographic image flickered into existence beside the main display. "Counselors, I've had 18 hours to analyze the engagement data, and I must report that our fundamental understanding of human capabilities was catastrophically incorrect." The assembly fell into tense silence as tactical displays filled the air above them. Three-dimensional models showed the wreckage of destroyed vessels, energy signature analyses, and trajectory calculations that seemed to defy physics. "Their railgun technology," Admiral Korvextar continued, "operates on principles we didn't recognize during our initial assessments. The magnetic acceleration is merely the first stage. The projectiles are then accelerated through a series of gravitational manipulation fields that compress space-time around them." General Fexmore's image joined the display. The result is that each projectile carries a kinetic energy of a small moon traveling at relativistic speeds. But more concerning is their targeting capability. They are somehow compensating for quantum uncertainty at the subatomic level, making their shots absolutely unavoidable once fired. Zefkree felt his confidence crumbling as he studied the data. "Admiral, General, what you're describing requires technology centuries beyond what we possess. How could the humans have developed this without any of our intelligence networks detecting it?" "That's what we need to determine," Vexnara said grimly. "But first, we need to assess the immediate threat. How many human vessels are currently in galactic space?" Kixra's voice came through the communication system from the monitoring station. "Current count is 137 confirmed human vessels across 43 sectors. They are maintaining a pattern of occupation that suggests coordinated strategic planning." The number hit the assembly like a physical blow. Murmurs of disbelief and fear rippled through the gathered representatives. 137 ships, whispered Counselor Mordeth of the Crystal Syndicate. "That's a full invasion force." "No," Zefkree said slowly, realization dawning. It's not an invasion force. It's a demonstration. Every eye in the assembly turned toward him. Explain. Thainzor commanded. Look at their deployment pattern. They are not targeting our most valuable systems or our strongest defensive positions. They are methodically occupying sectors that control strategic resources and trade routes. They are not trying to destroy us. They are showing us that they can control us whenever they choose. The truth of his words settled over the assembly like a suffocating blanket. The humans weren't conquering. They were proving a point. So, Kixra's voice interrupted. We're receiving a transmission on all Council emergency frequencies. It's from the humans. Put it through, Vexnara ordered. The main display shifted to show Ambassador Chen, but she was no longer in the simple dark suit she'd worn to their meeting. Instead, she wore what appeared to be a military uniform with unfamiliar insignia. Behind her, the bridge of her vessel hummed with technology that looked far more advanced than anything the humans had previously revealed. Honored counselors of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Chen began, her voice carrying across the silent assembly. 3 weeks ago, you dismissed humanity as primitive and advised us to abandon our railgun development in favor of conventional energy weapons. You suggested we seek mentorship from more advanced species who could guide our technological growth. Her expression remained perfectly calm, but Zefkri could detect steel beneath the diplomatic courtesy. We've taken your advice under careful consideration and concluded that our technological development is proceeding exactly as intended. Counselor Vexnara activated the response channel. Ambassador Chen, your vessels have destroyed Council-affiliated military units and occupied sovereign territory. These actions constitute acts of war against the galactic community. Do they? Chen's head tilted slightly. We delivered clear territorial warnings and only fired when fired upon. Our actions have been entirely defensive in nature. However, I understand your concern about our capabilities, so I've arranged a more comprehensive demonstration. The display behind Chen shifted to show a tactical view of the Zirian system, home to one of the galaxy's most heavily fortified research stations. The station was protected by overlapping energy shields, quantum disruption fields, and a defensive fleet that represented the cutting edge of Council military technology. The Zirian Research Station has been developing weapons specifically designed to counter human railgun technology. Chen continued conversationally. We thought it would be educational to test their progress. Ambassador, the Zirian Station is protected by... Thainzor began. Yes, we know. 12 overlapping shield generators, quantum phase disruptors, temporal displacement fields, and reality anchors. Plus a defensive fleet equipped with the latest plasma artillery and exotic matter torpedoes. Quite impressive by galactic standards. The tactical display zoomed in to show a single human vessel approaching the heavily defended system. It looked impossibly small compared to the massive defensive installations. Now, observe what happens when railgun technology is properly applied, Chen said. The human vessel fired a single projectile. On the display, it appeared as nothing more than a tiny dot of light streaking toward the research station. But as it approached the layered defenses, something extraordinary happened. The first shield layer didn't absorb the projectile. It was pierced so cleanly that the shield generators didn't even register the impact. The quantum disruptors fired, but the projectiles seemed to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, making it impossible to target. The temporal displacement fields activated, but the projectile's velocity was so extreme that it passed through the temporal distortion before the fields could affect it. The reality anchors engaged, trying to lock the projectile into normal space-time, but the gravitational field surrounding it created such severe space-time curvature that the anchors couldn't establish a stable lock. The defensive fleet opened fire with every weapon they possessed. Plasma beams, exotic matter torpedoes, quantum disruptors, dimensional phase cannons, everything the Council's military science had developed over millennia. The projectile passed through the bombardment like it was moving through empty space. When it struck the research station, the result was not an explosion. It was something far more disturbing. The projectile seemed to unravel the station's molecular structure from the inside out, converting matter directly into energy with perfect efficiency. In less than 3 seconds, one of the galaxy's most advanced installations simply ceased to exist. The silence in the Council assembly was absolute. The projectile you just observed, Chen continued as if she were discussing weather patterns, was accelerated to approximately 23% of light speed using a combination of magnetic acceleration, gravitational field manipulation, and localized space-time compression. The projectile itself was composed of what we call coherent exotic matter, essentially, matter that exists in multiple quantum states simultaneously until the moment of impact. Admiral Korvextar's voice came through the comm system, barely above a whisper. That's impossible. The energy requirements alone would exceed the output of most stellar cores. You're correct, Admiral, if you assume conventional power generation. However, our railgun systems don't generate energy. They borrow it temporarily from pocket dimensions and return it after use. The actual energy cost is negligible. Zephyr felt his understanding of physics crumbling. Ambassador, what you're describing violates fundamental laws of thermodynamics. Only if you limit yourself to three-dimensional thinking, Counselor. Humans have always been good at finding unconventional solutions to complex problems. Counselor Vexnoro's 6 eyes were fixed on the display where the Zirian system now showed only empty space where the research station had been. What do you want from us? What we wanted 3 weeks ago. Recognition as equals in the galactic community. Respect for our technological achievements. And perhaps an apology for suggesting that railguns were obsolete. The weight of their miscalculations settled over the assembly like a physical presence. They had not just underestimated humanity, they had insulted them, dismissed them, and suggested they abandon the very technology that made them potentially the most dangerous species in the galaxy. However, Chen continued, we understand that trust must be owned. We're prepared to demonstrate that humanity can be a valuable ally rather than a threat. To that end, we're offering our assistance with a problem that has been troubling the galactic community for some time. A new tactical display appeared, showing the infamous Void Cult stronghold in the Maelstrom Nebula. The installation had resisted every Council military assault for over 50 years, protected by technologies that seemed to operate outside normal physics. We've detected significant Void Cult activity near our space. This presents a mutual threat that requires immediate attention. Consider this our membership application, not with words, but with actions. The display showed human vessels moving toward the Maelstrom Nebula in perfect formation. Unlike their previous scattered deployments, this looked like a coordinated military assault. The demonstration will begin in 6 hours. We invite Council observers to witness how humanity deals with threats to galactic security. The transmission ended, leaving the assembly in stunned silence. Zephyr looked around at his fellow counselors and saw his own thoughts reflected in their expressions. They had awakened something they didn't understand, and now it was offering to protect them. The most terrifying part was that they had no choice but to accept. The Council observation fleet maintained a careful distance from the Maelstrom Nebula as human vessels took position around the notorious Void Cult stronghold. Zephyr stood on the bridge of the flagship, surrounded by representatives from every major galactic power, all watching the tactical displays with a mixture of fascination and dread. Sensors confirmed 4 to 7 human vessels in attack formation, reported the ship's tactical officer. They are maintaining perfect coordination despite the nebula's interference with standard communication systems. Admiral Korvextar studied the display with professional interest. Remarkable. The electromagnetic storms in that nebula have prevented coordinated fleet actions for decades. How are they maintaining formation coherence? Unknown, sir. Our sensors detect no communication signals between the human vessels, yet they are moving with precision that suggests instantaneous coordination. Counselor Vexnoro's 6 eyes tracked the human formation as it approached the Void Cult installation. The alien structure was a thing of nightmares, twisted geometries that seemed to fold space around themselves, surrounded by defensive systems that operated on principles the Council had never fully understood. The Void Cults have held that position for 53 years, she murmured. We've lost over 200 ships trying to dislodge them. Their defenses absorb energy weapons and redirect kinetic attacks back at the attackers. Which is exactly why the humans chose this target, Zephyr realized. They want to demonstrate that their railguns can succeed where our conventional weapons have failed. The communication system activated, carrying Ambassador Chen's voice to the observation fleet. Council observers, we're beginning our assault on the Void Cult installation. Please note that we'll be using standard Railgun technology, no exotic modifications or experimental systems. What you're about to witness represents baseline human military capability. General Thexmore's mandibles clicked nervously. Baseline capability? If what we saw at Zirion was baseline, what do their advanced systems look like? Before anyone could respond, the human fleet opened fire. But instead of the single, devastating projectiles they had demonstrated before, each vessel launched volleys of smaller rounds that seemed to move in complex, spiraling patterns through space. Multiple projectile launch detected, the tactical officer reported. Estimated velocity, 12% light speed. But, sir, the projectiles are following curved trajectories that shouldn't be possible in normal space-time. Zeth Kree watched in fascination as the railgun rounds traced impossible paths through the nebula, weaving between gravitational anomalies and electromagnetic storms as if they were following predetermined routes. As they approached the Void Cult installation, the alien defenses activated. Dark energy fields erupted from the twisted structure, reaching out to intercept the incoming projectiles. These fields had absorbed or redirected every weapon the Council had ever fired at them. But when they touched the human railgun rounds, something unprecedented happened. The projectiles didn't stop or change direction. Instead, they seemed to phase through the dark energy fields while simultaneously existing within them, creating a quantum paradox that made the alien defenses fluctuate wildly. Impossible, whispered Dr. Corvani, the Council's leading expert on void cult technology. Those energy fields exist partially outside normal space-time. Nothing should be able to phase through them while maintaining physical coherence. Unless, Zeth Kree said slowly, the projectiles exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The human railgun round struck the installation in a perfectly coordinated barrage. But instead of trying to destroy the structure through brute force, each projectile delivered what appeared to be a precisely calculated disruption to the facility's dimensional anchor points. The effect was extraordinary. The twisted geometries that had defined the Void Cult stronghold began to unravel, not through destruction but through dimensional realignment. The structure was being forced back into normal three-dimensional space, stripping away the exotic physics that had made it invulnerable. They are not destroying it, Admiral Korvextar breathed. They are normalizing it, forcing it to exist entirely within conventional space-time. As the dimensional realignment continued, the installation's defenses began failing. Dark energy fields collapsed, gravitational anomalies dispersed, and the alien structure found itself vulnerable for the first time in half a century. The human fleet's second volley was different. These projectiles moved at conventional velocities, but each one carried what appeared to be sophisticated scanning equipment. As they struck the now vulnerable installation, streams of data flowed back to the human vessels. They are conducting a detailed analysis of void cult technology, Dr. Corvani observed. In real time, during active combat, the precision required to gather useful data while maintaining structural integrity of both the projectile and the target. The third volley ended the demonstration. Standard kinetic rounds, moving at merely 5% light speed, systematically dismantled the installation piece by piece. The structure that had resisted the Council's best efforts for 5 decades was reduced to drifting debris in less than 20 minutes. But the humans weren't finished. As the observation fleet watched, human vessels moved through the debris field with methodical precision. Instead of simply destroying everything, they were collecting samples, cataloging technology, and securing what appeared to be void cult prisoners. Ambassador Chen, Counselor Vexnara transmitted, your demonstration has been effective, but why are you preserving void cult assets? Chen's image appeared on the main display, and Zeth Kree noticed that her uniform now bore additional insignia he didn't recognize. Counselor, the void cults represent a threat that requires understanding, not just destruction. Their technology operates on principles that could be valuable for galactic defense, if properly contained and studied. The Council has attempted to study void cult technology for centuries. General Thexmore interjected. Their science is incompatible with conventional physics. Every attempt at analysis has resulted in catastrophic equipment failures, or worse. That's because you've been approaching the problem from a three-dimensional perspective, Chen replied. Void cult technology exists primarily in folded space-time dimensions. To understand it, you need tools that can operate in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. She gestured, and the display showed one of the captured Void Cult devices being examined by what appeared to be sophisticated scanning equipment aboard a human vessel. Our Railgun technology isn't just a weapon system. It's a dimensional manipulation platform. The same principles that allow our projectiles to exist in multiple quantum states can be applied to scientific analysis. Dr. Corvani leaned forward intently. You're saying that Railgun technology has research applications beyond military use. Everything has research applications if you approach it correctly. Doctor, the key is understanding that the universe has more dimensions than the three we normally perceive. Humans have always been good at thinking outside conventional frameworks. Admiral Corvextar studied the tactical displays showing human vessels efficiently processing the destroyed installation. Ambassador, your forces have accomplished in 20 minutes what our combined fleets couldn't achieve in 50 years. But I have to ask, how many of these railgun-equipped vessels does humanity possess? Chen's expression remained neutral, but Zefkree detected something that might have been amusement in her eyes. Admiral, the vessels you've observed represent approximately 3% of Earth's active defense fleet. The statement hit the observation deck like a physical blow. 3%. If the 137 vessels they detected represented only 3% of human military capability, then Earth possessed a fleet of over 4,000 ships with railgun technology. That's impossible. Councillor Thainzor's crystalline form flickered with stress patterns. No single world could support a fleet of that magnitude. The resource requirements alone would be prohibitive using conventional construction methods, Chen agreed. Fortunately, humans rarely limit themselves to conventional approaches. Our shipyards operate on principles similar to our railgun technology. Dimensional folding allows us to construct vessels using materials and energy borrowed from pocket dimensions. Zefkree felt the last pillars of his understanding crumble. Ambassador, what you're describing represents a complete paradigm shift in industrial capability. How long has humanity possessed this technology? We've been developing dimensional manipulation techniques for approximately 40 years. The breakthrough came when our physicists realized that the universe's fundamental forces operate differently at quantum scales. Instead of fighting those differences, we learned to exploit them. The implications were staggering. 40 years of secret development, hidden from every galactic intelligence network. A complete reconstruction of physics that allowed impossible industrial capacity and military power. And they had presented themselves to the Council as primitive newcomers seeking guidance. The question now, Chen continued, is how the galactic community chooses to proceed. Humanity seeks partnership and cooperation, but we will not accept subjugation or dismissal. We've demonstrated our commitment to galactic security by eliminating a threat that has plagued the Council for half a century. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried unmistakable authority. We're prepared to share certain aspects of our technology with Council species, but only with those who prove themselves worthy partners. The days of human inferiority are over. Councillor Vexnoro activated the response channel, her 6 eyes reflecting the tactical displays around her. Ambassador, the Council acknowledges that our initial assessment of human capabilities was incomplete. We're prepared to discuss full membership and technological exchange agreements. Good. However, there are conditions. Chen's image shifted to show a detailed star chart. First, humanity claims sovereignty over all systems within 50 parsecs of Earth. This is non-negotiable. Second, any Council species wishing to access human technology must demonstrate their commitment to galactic peace by contributing to joint defense initiatives. What kind of defense initiatives? Admiral Corvextar asked. The Void cults were just one symptom of a larger problem. Our long-range sensors have detected at least 12 major threats approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Some appear to be machine intelligences. Others show energy signatures consistent with weaponized dark matter. All of them represent existential threats to organic life. The display showed sensor readings that made Zefkree's blood run cold. Massive objects moving through intergalactic space, their trajectories aimed directly at the Milky Way. Energy signatures that dwarfed anything in the Council's experience. The galaxy has approximately 18 months before the first of these threats arrives, Chen continued. Humanity is prepared to coordinate the defense, but we'll need the full cooperation of all Council species. This isn't a time for political games or territorial disputes. General Thexmore's voice carried a note of desperation. What do you need from us? Everything. Industrial capacity, raw materials, scientific expertise, and most importantly, the willingness to adapt. The coming conflict will require technologies and tactics that don't exist in any current military doctrine. Species that cling to conventional approaches will not survive. Zethkree looked around the observation deck at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. Fear, uncertainty, and a growing recognition that their world had changed forever. The humans hadn't just demonstrated superior technology. They had revealed that the galaxy faced threats beyond anyone's previous imagination. There's one more thing, Chen added, and her expression softened slightly. Despite our tactical superiority, humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to protect it. But protection requires respect, cooperation, and the wisdom to recognize that sometimes the most advanced solution looks deceptively primitive. The transmission ended, leaving the Council representatives alone with the reality of their new situation. Outside the observation deck's viewports, human vessels continued their methodical collection of void cult technology, working with an efficiency that spoke of long practice and careful planning. Counselors, Zethkree said quietly, I believe we need to convene an emergency session to discuss humanity's membership application. As the observation fleet prepared to return to Council space, Zethkree couldn't help but remember Ambassador Chen's final words from their first meeting. We'll certainly take it under consideration. They had considered the Council's advice, rejected it completely, and proceeded to demonstrate why the galaxy's supposedly advanced civilizations had been thinking too small. The humans hadn't just brought railguns to the galactic community. They had brought a completely new way of understanding the universe itself. And whether the galaxy was ready or not, everything was about to change. 6 months after humanity's dramatic entrance into galactic politics, Zethkree stood in the redesigned council chambers, watching the most diverse assembly in galactic history conduct business with unprecedented efficiency. The ornate crystalline dome remained unchanged, but everything else had been transformed. Human technical advisors worked alongside council scientists at integrated workstations. Holographic displays showed real-time construction progress on joint defense installations throughout the galaxy. Most remarkably, species that had maintained hostile relations for centuries were collaborating on projects that would have been impossible just months earlier. The Hegemon Acrylian joint manufacturing facility in Sector 12 has exceeded production targets by 30%, reported Dr. Sarah Chen, Ambassador Chen's sister, and the newly appointed Director of Galactic Defense Coordination. The hybrid assembly lines combining hegemony precision engineering with Krillian biomechanical systems are proving remarkably effective. Admiral Korvextar, now serving as Deputy Director of the Integrated Defense Force, nodded approvingly. The new hybrid vessels represent a genuine fusion of our best technologies. Hegemony shield generators, Krillian adaptive armor, Vorfax sensor arrays, and human dimensional manipulation systems. Each ship is exponentially more capable than anything we could have built independently. Zethkree marveled at the transformation. The same species that had dismissed humanity as primitive were now competing to contribute their most advanced technologies to joint projects. Fear had been an excellent motivator, but what sustained the cooperation was something more profound: results. What's the status on the outer perimeter defense grid? Asked Counselor Vexnora, her 6 eyes tracking multiple data streams simultaneously. General Thexmore, his insectoid features somehow more animated than Zethkree had ever seen them, brought up a galactic tactical display. 4 to 7 installations are now operational, with another 38 under construction. Each station is equipped with hybrid railgun batteries that can engage targets at up to 40% light speed. 40%. Zethkree couldn't hide his amazement. I thought 23% was the theoretical maximum for your dimensional compression systems. Dr. Chen smiled. That was using purely human technology. When we integrated Vorthak quantum processors with our targeting systems and hegemony power cores with our acceleration chambers, we discovered we could push the boundaries considerably further. It was a pattern Zethkree had observed repeatedly over the past months. Human technology seems specifically designed to amplify and enhance other species' capabilities rather than replace them. Instead of imposing their systems, humans created frameworks that allowed everyone to contribute their strengths. The first extragalactic contact is projected in 8 days, Admiral Korvextar continued. Long-range sensors confirm it's definitely a machine intelligence, mass approximately equivalent to a small moon, trajectory unchanged despite our defensive preparations. The main display shifted to show the approaching threat, a geometric construct of impossible complexity moving through intergalactic space at nearly 10% light speed. Its energy signature suggested technology that operated on principles none of them fully understood. "Are we ready?" Counselor Thainzo asked, his crystalline form reflecting the tactical displays in fractal patterns. "As ready as we can be," Dr. Chen replied. The integrated defense grid represents the combined scientific knowledge of 17 different species, coordinated through human dimensional manipulation technology. We're about to field weapon systems that shouldn't be theoretically possible. Ambassador Chen's image appeared on the central communications display. 6 months of coordinating galactic defense had changed her. She looked more confident, more at ease with the authority that circumstances had thrust upon her. Council members, our outer sensor networks have detected additional movement beyond the first contact. It appears we're dealing with a scouting force rather than an isolated incursion. New contact appeared on the tactical display, dozens of objects moving in formation through the cosmic void between galaxies. Some appeared to be mechanical constructs like the first contact. Others showed energy signatures that suggested exotic matter compositions or technologies that operated outside conventional physics. "How many are we looking at?" General Fexmore asked. Current count is 6 to 7 confirmed contacts, with probability models suggesting significantly more behind them. This appears to be a systematic invasion rather than random exploration. The weight of that revelation settled over the assembly. Everything they had built over the past 6 months, the joint defense grid, the hybrid technologies, the unprecedented cooperation between species, was about to face the ultimate test. "There's something else," Ambassador Chen continued. "Our dimensional sensors have detected artificial space-time distortions around several of the approaching objects. They are not just using faster-than-light travel. They are manipulating the fundamental structure of space itself." Dr. Corvani, the Council's expert on exotic physics, leaned forward intently. "Are you saying they have dimensional manipulation technology similar to humanity's?" "Similar in effect, but fundamentally different in approach. Human dimensional technology works by borrowing energy and matter from pocket dimensions. These entities appear to be rewriting the laws of physics in localized areas. It's like comparing a key that opens a lock to someone who simply erases a lock from existence." Zethkri felt a chill run through him. If the approaching intelligences could rewrite physics at will, how could any conventional defense succeed? However, Ambassador Chen continued, "We may have an advantage they're not expecting. Our integrated defense systems don't rely entirely on conventional physics. By combining human dimensional manipulation with Council member technologies, we've created hybrid systems that operate on multiple physical principles simultaneously." The main display showed detailed schematics of the defense installations. Zethkri could see the elegant complexity of the design, human railgun technology providing the delivery system, Vorthak quantum processors calculating targeting solutions across multiple dimensions, hegemony power cores channeling energy through Krillian biomechanical conduits, all coordinated by crystalline processing arrays that utilize principles from a dozen different species. "The theory," Dr. Chen explained, "is that entities accustomed to rewriting singular physical laws will have difficulty countering systems that operate on contradictory principles simultaneously. A railgun round that exists in multiple dimensions while being guided by quantum probability calculations and powered by exotic matter reactions should present them with paradoxes they can't simply erase." "Theory is reassuring," Admiral Korvextar said grimly, "but we're about to discover how it performs in practice." "First contact in 6 hours," reported the tactical station. "The lead construct will enter our outer sensor perimeter ahead of schedule." Ambassador Chen nodded. "All defense stations are at full readiness. Fleet formations are in position. And perhaps most importantly, every species in the galaxy now understands that our survival depends on absolute cooperation." She paused. And when she spoke again, her voice carried echoes of the quiet confidence she had shown during humanity's first council meeting. 6 months ago, you dismissed human railgun technology as primitive and obsolete. Today, that same technology forms a foundation of the most advanced defensive network in galactic history. Sometimes the most effective solutions are the ones that seem impossibly simple. The communication ended, leaving the council members alone with their thoughts and the approaching threat. Outside the Great Dome, stars that had shone peacefully for millennia now seemed fragile and precious. Whatever happens in the next few hours, Zeth Kree said quietly, I want it recorded that humanity could have chosen domination over cooperation. They possess the power to subjugate us all, but instead they chose to unite us. Counselor Vexnoro's 6 eyes reflected the tactical displays showing approaching enemy contacts. Perhaps that's what true advancement looks like, not the ability to impose your will, but the wisdom to recognize that strength comes from unity. The first alarm sounded as exotic energy signatures appeared at the edge of council space. Across the galaxy, defense stations that represented the combined knowledge of 17 species prepared to engage threats that challenged the fundamental nature of reality itself. In his private moments, Zeth Kree had wondered what would have happened if the Council had accepted humanity's membership application gracefully from the beginning. Would they have shared their advanced technology freely? Would the galaxy have been better prepared for the approaching crisis? But as he watched the integrated defense grid activate with perfect coordination, he realized that perhaps everything had unfolded exactly as it needed to. The galaxy's arrogance had forced humanity to demonstrate their true capabilities, and that demonstration had shocked the galactic community into unprecedented cooperation. The humans had been right about their railgun technology from the beginning. But more than that, they had been right about the galaxy itself. It was far more dangerous than the Council had imagined, and survival required innovations that seemed impossible until someone proved they weren't. As the first enemy construct entered weapons range and the defense grid opened fire with railgun rounds that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, Zeth Kree found himself hoping that humanity's gift for finding unconventional solutions would prove sufficient for the challenges ahead. The galaxy had ignored every warning about human capabilities until it was too late to dismiss them. Now, perhaps for the first time in millennia, they were united not by fear or politics, but by the recognition that some problems required everyone working together to solve. The age of galactic arrogance was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And at the center of it all, railgun technology, the supposedly primitive magnetic acceleration system that the Council had dismissed as obsolete, stood ready to defend everything they held dear. Sometimes the most advanced solution really was the one that looked deceptively simple. The humans had tried to tell them that from the beginning. The galaxy had simply refused to listen until listening became a matter of survival. Now, as exotic matter projectiles streaked across space at impossible velocities toward targets that could rewrite the laws of physics, everyone was listening very carefully indeed.